Hi, my name is Benjamin Worsler.
I'm Cameron Freshtaku.
I'm Alex Pagel.
And I'm Ben Friedberg, and this is Artificial Organs. To start off with artificial organs, in 1865, a man by the name of N. von Frey and M. Gruber first invented the artificial heart/lung apparatus. It was not until the late 1960s, though, that the first artificial organ was finally implanted into a human. In 1967, Christian Bunyard of South Africa carried out the first cardiac transplant at the Groote Schuur Hospital located in South Africa. On the 3rd of December, the transplant was done on a patient by the name Mr. Louis Washkowski. Unfortunately, he passed away 18 days later, but it wasn't because of the heart, rather pneumonia. Continuing through the years, a man named Thomas Starzl had attempted to do a liver transplant, and he had many attempts, up to 5, since the year 1953. However, after these 5 unsuccessful attempts, many doctors believed that liver and heart transplants were not going to be able to be carried out, as the artificial versions were outlawed as labeled as too difficult. In 1968, though, Mr. Starzl finally completed a liver transplant in Denver, Colorado. After this, many doctors started to see a new light, and Mr. Starzl's liver patients finally started to live at about a 50% rate. Between the years of 1967 and 1979, he completed 12 liver transplants. On April 4th, 1969, a doctor by the name of Dr. Denton Cooley authorized an artificial heart implementation of his own. Now, with Dr. Denton Cooley, he had a 64-hour version of a heart to keep his patient alive for a human heart to be implanted. Continuing on, every organ transplant procedure until the year 1982 involved organs from human beings and other animals. But the Jarvik 7 was then created as the first artificial heart and was released by Dr. Robert Jarvik. First, the hospitals attempted to try to conceal this information, but it soon got out to the public. So, before each surgery, though, a lot of information was released to the public, and this shined new light into the field of artificial organs.
Hi, I'm Alex Pagel, and I was researching the scientific side of artificial organs. Often we found that artificial organs pertain to mechanical devices rather than biological organs. So we tried to research the process of making a biological organ which acts and looks like a real organ. So the main process of doing this is to obtain a scan of the artificial matrix and mimic it with a polymer plastic material. This is then seeded with stem cells and then implanted inside of the patient. Once it is implanted in the patient, it grows blood vessels with the use of the stem cells and becomes a living organ.
Now, there are also many risks and benefits to the use of artificial organs as well. Now, according to studies by the FDA and the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, artificial organs have been seen to increase life expectancy and improve overall health of things like cardiovascular function and other chemical processes as well. And this is mainly due to the complexity and sophistication of the artificial organ and how it has not been subjected to something like aging and overuse like a normal organ in a transplant would be. Also, artificial organs will be able to eliminate the need for an organ transplant waiting list, as someone wouldn't have to wait months or years to get a transplant or a donor. Also, artificial organs have a lower recovery time, as is very adaptable to the human body as well. Unfortunately, according to the FDA, the operation is still very new and semi-invasive and still needs some time and perfection. And according to the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, there are things like bleeding, formation of blood clots, and infection, which can form and are common and can be life-threatening. Now, if we look at this chart I made myself with numbers from the Kidney and Neurological Diseases Clearinghouse, it shows that the number of kidney transplants alone in the past 20 years have nearly doubled because of a growing population and aging population, meaning more and more people are in need of an organ. And according to the Organ Procurement Transplant Network, there are over 123,000 people in need of an organ transplant of any kind, and there are only 13,000 donors to supply this. Now, if we look at the economic possibilities of artificial organs, it is immaculate, as according to a study by the global industry analyst, the global artificial organ market will reach roughly $20 billion by 2017. Now, this is because the growing need of an organ, as I said previously, with the Organ Procurement Transplant Network. More and more people are now in need, so they're looking for countries and companies to begin research and investing into research in order to perfect this and find a solution for artificial organs. Countries like the US, who spend roughly 16.9% of GDP per capita on healthcare, according to OECD, and that is the most among any nation in the world. They also have roughly 40% of all international global medical device sales, which is also the most among the world. People will look towards the US as they are one of the leaders in health research and care, and as a result, the US can control much of the market and make a lot of profit while also being able to save millions of lives. Unfortunately, according to studies by Dr. Dan Malloy and his colleagues in 2013, costs of an artificial organ are in the six figures, and something as complex as an artificial heart are around $200,000.
Now, when looked at socially artificial organs, currently we have only 980 jobs in the tissue engineering field, and that is to supply the 127,000 people that are in need of an organ with just only 980 people. However, there's a 28% growth predicted in the next 10 years according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Also, when we're looking at jobs, we also have to look at production. And so far, only 1,400 total of artificial hearts have been produced from SynCardio Incorporated. And this is relatively small compared to the 26 million people that currently have heart disease. And this shows how that there's so little production compared to the amount of people that are in need for artificial hearts and organs. Also, due to this low amount of production, the price of artificial organs is very high because there's so few of them. So that's another problem. Some benefits of having artificial organs is that although they may cost quite a lot of money, there are financial aid opportunities such as healthcare, the actual device company, and as well as tax benefits. And also, when implementing organs into society, the universal transplant policy is that there's universal and equitable access to healthcare. So that means not the person who has the most money, but the person who is in the most need of the organ should consistently receive the organ. Also, other common benefits include that organs extend life expectancy, and they also spur new research for cancer, ulcers, and diabetes.
I also had a futuristic side of it. In the future, artificial organs will become more predominant in real life. As artificial organs develop, they will be as common, for instance, as vaccines. However, this may not always be a good thing. For example, one may use artificial organs to gain a physical advantage over others. Personally, I believe that it should only be used to do what it's intended for, save a life. Eventually, you may not even need surgery for an artificial organ. Stem cells can be injected into the body at specific sites, which would then trigger other stem cells to reproduce parts of the organ.
In conclusion, throughout the history of artificial organs, they have proven to progress very slowly but very effectively. Doctors see it as being a fixture for the future, but all we need is for more research to be conducted to further the field of artificial organs. Thank you for listening to our presentation and have a nice day.